Welcome to my kitchen. We have bananas and avocado.
Hello my friends and welcome back to Player Display. Yep, we're hopping right back on the zombie train, perhaps a train to Busan, because here we have the deadline from Sideshow once again, this time being the Butcher, who is now officially the rarest zombie that I have. As you know, I love collecting zombies, and it seems that every time I get a new one, it's more rare than the last. I didn't plan it, that's just how they came out. Apparently there are only 750 pieces of this figure in existence. And this is not how he actually first appears when you take him out of the box, which I unfortunately do not have because I got this guy loose. The two additional parts here are the mask and the chainsaw, which we will explain a little bit later. But for now, we're going to review this guy. It's going to be a pretty quick one. I'll talk about the different accessories I gave him. And I also want to do a little bit of shopkeeping channel-wise, just talk a little bit about where his channel's going, what you can expect from me in the future, and all that nonsense. So if you don't care about stuff, you could probably skip past that. It's going to be towards the end of the video, but for now, let's do a little retrospective. Oh yeah! Alright, so let's have a little look at this big boy. So as I iterated before, I got this guy loose, so I don't have the box for him, but that would have been exactly the same packaging that we looked at with the Harbinger and the Security Zombie, if I'm remembering right, from the same line. So I have him stood up here on a very generic doll stand, but it serves its purpose well, so that does just fine. But if we had that stand, it would probably be dated around 2005, 2009. Again, these figures released in like the mid-odds, then late odds, so you could expect it to be from around there. Actually, this guy has his own devoted trailer on the YouTube channel for Sideshow, so if you want to check that out, you totally can. It's really quick, but it makes this guy a lot more exciting. If you want to look at that, then definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. But anyways, here we are at the base figure, and we'll just look at this dude as we do with the rest of our zombie friends on this channel. Let's pop up here to the main head sculpt, and it is really good. This is a more heavy-set dude, so you got a little bit more of that droopiness, double chin down here, all these sores and scrapes have a bit of a peeling over here, and then some, I guess, dried up blood that's leaked out. More sores, open little gore spots, or whatever you'd want to call them. Also, really love the detail on the face, in general. The eyes are pupilless, so I guess that sort of feeds into my theory when you're looking at figures from the deadline, the infection affects people differently, so that's kind of cool to consider. Also really digging the teeth that we got over here. It looks like we just got one row to look at in there, but that's really very much appreciated. It's nice to have zombies with different facial expressions. This one has more of a snarl. Then I also did the custom Banshee zombie who was more screaming. We'll bring her in for size comparisons. That would be fun. I'll actually just drop this dude on the shelf in my zombie collection, so that'll be like the ultimate size comparison. But anyways, going on around, we can move the head beautifully thanks to some nice articulation. He's got some actually really big ears. Never really considered that before, but yeah, he's got some big old ears off to the side. The hair is also very well done. It's just done in a base brown. Nothing too special, but looks good. It's got a nice texture to it. Very good sculpt all around. I think that's definitely the greatest strength of these early Sideshow figures is the head sculpts. Because when you get to the rest of the body, there are certain things which are either standard or dated. So they're not too exciting, but the head sculpt is always what takes all this early stuff and helps it to stay current. And this guy definitely works in that regard. Now down to the torso, we have a butcher's apron, fittingly covered in some blood, because for some reason there's always that trope of like a fat pig dude with a chainsaw or a chicken knife for some reason, and this happens to fit into that trope, but I want one for my shelf, so I'm not complaining if we're just doing this all over again. We saw it in Manhunt, we saw it in Outlast. I don't care if we see it again in action figure form, I'm good with that, but once again, because again, we've seen this archetype before, I have the apron, nicely coated up in blood and dirt. This is definitely the most well-painted of all the figures from the deadline that I think we've seen thus far. I think the runner-up would have been the security guard, but even he didn't have this much dirt prevailing throughout the outfit. But for this guy, it makes sense. He's a butcher. Part of me likes to think he's one of the more intelligent zombies that still has a little bit of memory going on, so he could still run around with tools. A little foreshadowing for accessories, but you can even see the dirt continue around to the back, which is really great, and also where the apron ties up, so I really do appreciate that detail. If we pan down, of course, ignore the figure stand, but you got some pockets in the pants, which do work. You could even put the cleaver in there, which we will talk about in a moment here. And yeah, very nice garments all around. And also down here, it's got some devoted shoes, which I believe are just, yeah, they're a single sculpt, so it's not like a shoe on top of a foot on the underside. It's just a boot or shoe, whatever, and then you got a ball joint immediately right inside. So it's all one solid piece, which I prefer, so that way the shoes aren't falling all over the place, as some other figures have an issue with. So that's good. Now, the one thing which is a strength and a weakness of this figure at the same time are the hands. So let's have him put up his dukes over here, and we'll have a close look. I guess we'll start off with Righty over here. And one thing you'll notice immediately is there is quite literally no wrist articulation at all. You do have something of a swivel up in there around the elbow, so that's good. Actually, let's pull over the sleeve. It's not that tight. But yeah, you got a double jointed elbow, which is really good. And then you do have a swivel right in there. So you at least have a swivel, but you can't really angle the wrist up or down or in and out. So that is where this figure kind of shows its age. But then again, this line wasn't really aiming for crazy articulation anyways. It was a lot more sculpt-centric, so that's why you have this solid wrist over here. And admittedly, because it doesn't have that joint, it looks better. I mean, it's a more seamless presentation. One thing I did want to mention is this hand is supposed to be tighter. In fact, if I gave it some heat, it would probably tighten up a lot more. The reason why it's a little wider than this figure would be by default by vanilla is because I gave him a bonus accessory, which you saw earlier in this video, so we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. But also, let's go over to this other hand. I'm not even talking about the really great painted and sculpted details in this hand. Both of these hands, really. You can put them side by side. You can see the difference. They're both posed a little differently. You have one that's meant for the grip, then you have one that's more an open hand or a weapon resting hand, kind of foreshadowing, once again, one of the custom accessories that I gave to this guy. But this hand's okay. This one, really nasty. No idea what went on. Maybe he mistook his arm for some protein and started chopping himself up. Don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's a great figure. I think overall he really does hold up. And the last thing I forgot to mention is I'm not willing to take off all the clothes on this guy, but there is a fat suit in there, which is really interesting. Contrary to the Dead Rising 2 Taurus zombie, or whatever you want to call him, that guy, he had an actual fat body sculpt. So he had like a plastic gut in there that pushed out all the garments. But for him, it's more of like a beanbag situation or something like that. Like if I brought him in, you can probably hear there's like more of this shuffling inside of there. It's more squishy, so it's not a solid plastic sculpt. The main body is probably the same base body that they were using on all the dead figures, save for the hands and the shoes, of course, and the head sculpt naturally. So that's a really interesting decision on their part. I think that was a wise move because, first of all, it allows them to go a little cheaper, not having to create a whole new base body for this figure, and second, because it's like a soft extra article under the clothing, it allows them to move around a little more, and we'll have a better look at that in articulation. So that being said, let's talk about accessories, because that's where things get really interesting. First, let's look at the stock accessories. There are not a whole lot of images online of this guy, so I believe that these are the base accessories that he's supposed to come with, save for the stand, but otherwise this guy is 100% complete. So over here we have the cleaver, as I mentioned before, a very nice piece. Love how well applied the paint is, love the inconsistency of the blood on the blade. It looks great. And again, this lends to my theory that this is one of the slightly smarter zombies. Not too brilliant, not like brain gremlin brilliant, but that's okay. And once again, as I said before, this would fit perfectly in his gripping hand, but because I gave him an alternate accessory, it does not anymore. It kind of just falls out, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to deal with, considering the upgrade that I've given this guy. So the cleaver, he can't hold it anymore, but you could probably store it on his person like a pocket, or if you even considered like making him a custom belt or something like that. So that might be in the near future for this guy, but I'll think about it. Next thing we have, what good is a butcher without his cadavers? Here we have a big old pig head, and I don't know, I'm kind of, no pun intended, a little split on it. Well, firstly, the great thing about it is all the gore, the mess that you get on the inside of the head, which is really great looking. Not only do you see all the blood and the severed skeletal work in there, but you also have this layer of fat going all the way around the inside. So it's a nice bisection of this head. But on the other side, though, I'm a little bit torn because while it is well painted and everything, it feels a little cartoony, not quite as realistic as another bonus accessory that we will look at in a few moments here. The last thing this guy comes with, which I find interesting because it seems like a lot of the zombie lines, I mean the few of them that do exist, they often include paper goods for whatever reason to give them more lore, or so you can add to your diorama. I'm not complaining. I mean, personally, maybe I'd prefer an extra plastic piece, like some more cadavers or something, but this is still pretty neat. Teaches us a little bit more about the character. So this is like one of those little signs that you'd see hung up in a kitchen or, well, a butcher area, I guess. So you see food preparation area, wear clean protective clothing, wash hands before commencing work. Obviously you failed at all three of these. On the back, totally blank. On the front though, you got all your rules, a few images over here, and a big old blood splatter. So yeah, nice short, very light accessory pack over here, but it serves this figure pretty well. Again, he would hold this beautifully if it weren't for another accessory that we're just about to talk about. And here are two bonus accessories, each with a really interesting story. So let's start over here. Firstly, we have another pig head. And to prove to you that there are two of them, and to prove to you that their original one was a little on the cartoony side, let's get these guys side by side. Check them out. Very much different. So, how did I acquire this pig mask? This actually came with the figure, just as a bonus custom piece. And so at first I was like, okay, I'm on board. I love it a lot. In fact, I opt to display the figure with this mask on because I love it so much. But for a while there, I wasn't too sure where it came from, but I looked online. Apparently you can still get this mask right now. It's a third-party 3D printed sculpt that's being sold from overseas, and I guess somebody got it and then custom painted it, then incorporated it with the butcher and sold it with him when they posted him on eBay. So I saw it and I'm like, all right, it's an extra piece, I'll take it. But then later on, I learned where this thing comes from. So if you are looking to get a custom pig mask like this, you can still find it. So that's really great. And as for getting it onto the figure itself, you can totally do that. So let's move things around over here. You can see on the inside, it's got, well, firstly, it has a lot of grease and a nice polish to it. That did not come with the base mask from my research, so somebody did the custom paint work, and they did a beautiful job, so props to them. But on the inside, you'll notice that there's a little hitch right at the chin, so that will allow you to, I suspect, put this on any figure you want. But yeah, just align the chin, prop up the mask, and it stays on great. So again, makes me think more that this is one of the smarter zombies. Maybe smart enough to put on a mask for whatever reason, and it happens to be a big face, so that's cool and all. But yeah, that's just one of two really great upgrades for this figure that makes it a lot more enjoyable. As for the second one, here we have the chainsaw, which did not come with this figure that I got loose out of packaging. This is actually an idea I had after I learned about the origins of the pig mask. I figured, well, he's already customized, why not go all the way and give him a bonus accessory? This is actually the chainsaw that came from the NECA Ultimate Stripe. Now, that Stripe figure has an interesting history with me because, well, it was one of my first NECA gremlins, I believe, and he had a few tumbles. He wasn't doing a good job at standing, and he actually broke a leg, which I wound up just gluing in place. And right now, he is my bandit gremlin, and he has that balaclava that you get from the Gremlins accessory set, so he is no longer my main stripe. My new stripe is going to be coming from the 40th anniversary Evolution of Gremlins pack, so I'll be getting another stripe eventually, though we'll review it in the near future, I'm hoping. So as a result of that, I'll be getting an extra chainsaw, so I decided to take the spare one and give it to my Butcher Zombie. Now this thing is 100% repainted. Before it was totally bare, it was just like a really stark yellow at the main grip. Add some black over here on the main chainsaw. The chain itself was painted kind of lightly with silver, but not a whole ton, so I had to reprimand that. So yeah, I slapped on the blood, gave it some grime, gave it some paint wear. You can see with the silver over there. Did some dry brush work. Add a little bit of texture, messed up some of the printing that's on it to make it look used, and this is the result. Also gave it a gloss coat so everything would be as preserved and a little icky and gooey looking, so I dig that a lot. Now, the other thing that makes this really interesting is I learned you can actually take this thing apart, so you can remove this front piece over here, like the shield, I don't know what you'd call it exactly, so that will allow you to take, well, any figure really, but for example's sake, our butcher over here, and you can take this hand, which again is limited in articulation, but you can get him holding this chainsaw in two ways. The first way, if you remove the shield in the front, is to slide his hand right through there, and then if you line up the pegs and slots well enough, a little hard to do with a camera in the way. Come on, I've done this before, it should be no problem. And there we go. So you can kind of be holding it at his side, if you get what I mean. Hold on, zoom function. Zoom out. There we go. So much better. So now you can kind of just be chilling, just walking around, stalking the butcher shop or something like that. So I really dig that look a lot. You can pose up the hand, and he looks really great. But you can also have another option, and this is why the hand is stretched out. So if you remove the chainsaw, just like so, nice and easy, then we can reassemble it, which is very nice. We can rotate this hand, and actually, if you're really careful, you can take the stripe chainsaw and load it into this hand. It takes a little bit of a twist and a shout, but the hand will stretch out. Stick the hand in, twist it, then you can kind of lean it forward that away. You can get this hand propped on the inside, and we want to be careful not to knock off that shield again. But then he can hold the chainsaw in two hands, and that is my preferred look for this zombie. Again, smart pig, smart zombie, got a chainsaw. I don't care. He looks cool. Why not? That chainsaw is a tad tricky to get in there, and I don't want to lose the stretched out nature of that hand, so I'm going to keep it in there for the time being as we go through articulation. Up at the head, let's see, very good down, really good back, tilt, and swivel all the way around, full exorcist. As for the arms, again, tough to say because we have soft articles on here, but I mean, you can do a Batman, which is pretty cool. I suspect there's a 360 swivel in there, but we're not going to accomplish that with the shirt on there. Double jointed elbows, as we talked about, although you might want to pay attention to where you're swiveling this forearm over here, because if it's sideways, it will actually block a little bit of the joint. So what you can do is swivel it, and it'll expose a little bit more, so you can make better use of it. And it could be like clutching his pearls or something. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, you can get more range depending on how you swivel that forearm. Speaking of forearm, I will swivel, as I told you, and as I also mentioned, there is no articulation in the wrist to speak of whatsoever. That's fine, considering what I plan on doing with this figure, being having him wielding the big old chainsaw. As for the torso, once again, it's going to be tough to say because he's got that fat suit on there, and he's got the soft garments. But combining the waist with the torso, let's have a peek. He can go pretty good down and fair amount back. I don't think you need any more either which way. I think that's solid. Let's check out the legs. Let's just do one because I don't want to screw up the pants. But yeah, it kicks out to the side. All their base articulations in there. Got your forward, got your back. The pants kind of pulls it back, but I mean, it's a zombie. He's not going to be doing acrobatic stunts, or unless you want him doing the thriller dance, and then I'm sure you could work with that. Do some cool stop motion too. Double jointed knee, which is nice. As for the ankles, I'm not totally sure. Oh, it's kind of like what we saw before on the previous figures in the Deadline. We have a bowl hinge, so he can go back, forward. I'm not going to go through the trouble of doing it, but you could rotate that joint around, so that way you can get your rocker. But I don't want to, so sorry. You're not going to see that today. As for size comparisons, I want to do something a little different and take them over to my ever-growing zombie shelf. So over here, in order from right to left, we have the Butcher from the Deadline, we have the Security Zombie, we have my custom Banshee Nun Zombie, we have the Harbinger Priest Zombie, then we have the the Dead Rising 2 Tourist Fat Zombie. So yeah, nice little collection of 5 over here. And this whole shelf was inspired in anticipation for the Asmus Toys Chloe Zombie, which I am really looking forward to. Hope she releases soon. She's going to be a little bit on the short side, so that'll be interesting for size comparisons in the future. Here we are back in the review room once again for 2 more size comparisons. Even though it makes no sense, we are suckers for tradition here on Player Display. So here we have the Star Wars Black Series Squash and Mechamuck. Pixies home!
Are you sure we're safe to just hide behind the severed pig head?
Of course, I've seen it in a movie.
I thought these things smelled bad on the outside.
Of all the zombies I've collected, this is probably my favorite one of all of them. Not just because of the figure himself, who I think still holds up to this day. I mean, despite being probably around 20 years old, but also the story behind how I got him. I got him around New Year's time, 2025, and he also came with a bonus pig mask, so I wanted to do all my homework on where that came from. And then it was a fun journey beyond that. I got to give him an extra chainsaw, got him the stand, and he became a really nice centerpiece to my greater zombie collection. And he's my favorite now, but that might change once I get the Asmus Toys Chloe, so time will tell. But until then, I think this dude's awesome. He rocks, but he's a really rare figure. If you're ever able to find him, I do highly recommend him. Obviously, this guy is a lot more exciting because of the custom accessories that he has, but even stock, I mean, you still get the base pig head over there that can hold, or you can lie around your diorama. You got the cleaver. You got this little safety sign, so he still comes pretty well packed. That's pretty much it for this review, but before we close out, for those of you who are interested, I have a few very quick notes regarding this channel. So if you are just here for the review, you're pretty much done. Thanks for visiting. But if you want to stick around for a few additional notes, and stick around for just a minute or two of your time, greatly appreciate it. Hi, how's it going? This is not my face reveal, but if you're seeing my face for the first time, sorry to disappoint. But anyways, here we are, just switching the camera a little bit here. Got my butcher over here with his custom stuff. So we can go ahead and wrap up this review while the review's done. But I want to talk a little bit more about this channel and my other two channels, because something I realized, 2 channels is company, but 3 is kind of a crowd. So I've been hopping back and forth between them. I'm thrilled about all of them. But yeah, I just want to go over what each channel is and what I plan to do with each of them, because it's been a week since I've posted a video on this channel, and it's not a very long time, but I just want to give you an idea of what each channel is, so you have a thorough understanding of what each one has to offer. If one goes quiet for a while, then we're hopping to another one, so on and so forth. So firstly, here we are at Player Display. This is my main channel, this is my baby. Been around for 2 years, started in January of 2023 just as an experiment, and here we are at like 670 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for that. Here we are going to be strictly doing action figure stuff, and that's it. So we're going to do reviews, tutorials, showcases, the usual stuff. Action figures and any like life-size props that I get, like the Mogwai Mohawk from Trick or Treat Studios that we looked at in the past, or any helmet reviews, stuff like that. However, the one thing that we have been doing on this channel that I'm going to move, not the videos themselves, but just any future content, is my Pod Guy podcasts. I think we're probably not going to do those here anymore, because I now have a third channel, being Nightwatcher 66. Now that's a total bonus channel. It's totally up to you if you want to check it out, but I pretty much it's a vlog channel effectively. So talk about my life, movies I enjoy. That's where the podcasts are pretty much going to go over to in a new format for sure. So that's just an extra little something to fill in gaps between time if I don't have a whole lot to do for this channel or my second channel. Now the second channel, which is the second chronologically, but the third that I'm mentioning here, is Pod Plays. That's where I do my Let's Plays for some video games. That's just a little throwaway channel just for fun. I play games like Zombie U. I mean, I freaking love zombies, so makes perfect sense why. And I'm also currently playing BioShock Remastered, if you want to check that out as well. And Flash games here and there, indie games, itch.io games, just a whole bunch of little things. Nothing too seriously, just very casual, very unprofessional. I'm no Markiplier. Yeah, just for shits and giggles, you know? But yeah, this main channel, Player Display, is my main channel. But that being said, my financial situation has changed. For the better. But as a result of that, I want to be sure that I've got a good pin on my budget. So as a result of that, I don't expect a whole ton of new stuff to be coming in soon. So in the meantime, feel free to check out those other 2 channels if you want more content from me. So if there's like dead air on this channel for a little while and you're wondering where the hell I went, I'm probably at those other 2 channels doing more stuff. So if either of those seem appealing to you, you can certainly check those out. I know Muck is just about to tell you about them, but I wanted to take a moment to go into more detail on what they're about and what they're for. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. So thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing, for being here on this 2-year journey. For any of you who have been here for some time, I don't know why I keep knocking my glasses around, tight space. But yeah, I'm going to stop before I embarrass myself any further. So if you enjoyed this content and are looking forward to more, then please, as per usual, be sure to
Like, comment,
Ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals. And subscribe.
yeah, hi, Mechabug here. If you want to see more from Pod Guy, then please be sure to check out the Pod Plays channel down in the description for some Let's Plays. And if you want to support the channel a bit too, you also got the Pod Patreon, which is down in the description as well. See you around, folks!
Thank you guys very much for watching. Rock on, and I will see you all later.